Sveiki visiem! Es esmu Barbaru Freibergu no Latvijas Dizaineru savienības. Un es sākumā sākšu mazliet latviski, bet Greima lūdzu jau nāca uz skatuves. Can please on stage? Pirmkārt, tālāk mēs ar Greimu runāsim angliski, un es ļoti lūdzu jūs ņemt vērā to, ka šī būs mana pirmā uzstāšanās angliski, tāpēc esiet lūdzu iecietīgi. Es jau tagad uztraucos mazliet par to. Lūk, bet pāris vārdos Greiems Brūks, profesors no Karaliskās koledžas Londonā un Karaliskās mākslas koledžas Londonā un cilvēks, kurš ir sarakstījis ļoti daudz grāmatas par interjera dizainu, attiecīgi ir veicis pētījums interjera dizainā un šī gadījumā man ir milzīgs prieks, ka viņš piekrita manam aicinājumam atgriezties atkal Latvijā, piedalīties konferencē šajā sarunā un arī piedalīties Dizaineru savienības konkursa dizaina arēnas žūrijas locekļu statusā un izvērtēt mūsu studentu darbus. Es gribētu zināt pēc tam, kāds būs viņa viedoklis par to. Es domāju, ka viņš arī piedalīsies nākamajā diskusijā pēc tam un pastāstīs par to pats. Tagad angliski. James Brooker. Oh, sorry. already a little bit shaking. So,
Greiems Brooks. I like the fact that it's professors. That
Professor
means the two of me.
Greiems Brooks, so Royal College of Art. Please sit and. I will start some questioning. Not questioning, but please, in some words, tell a little bit about you yourself and your work, and a little bit about your books too.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. I don't know what you said in the introduction, but it sounded good. Thank you. I'm an interior designer, trained in interior design. I've practiced in interior design for a number of years, and now I'm an educator, and I've been a educator in interior design and interior architecture as well for 25 years maybe, so quite a long time. I know what you're thinking. I'm really only 15, but I'm not, unfortunately. I have educated students in interiors all across the world. Currently, I work at the Royal College of Art in London, which is a master's-only program, a master's-only school, so we only teach master's students. We have a lot of international students, some from Latvia occasionally. Rarely, but occasionally. And I enjoy teaching students a lot. It's one of my passions, one of my things that I really enjoy. I also write books, a lot of books about interiors, because for me, the interior is one of the key areas of the built environment, which I don't think people have really taken seriously for a long time. So sometimes they think of it as pure decoration and so on. There's some aspects of it which are about that, but it's much more than that. So I write a lot about building reuse, about use, less about lighting, I have to say, but about the notion of the interior designer, the profession, history, theory, and so on. It's very important for me to substantiate this subject and tell people what it's about, because I think for me, the interior is the future of the built environment. And I'll tell you why, because it's the only, and architects always say, oh, we do this. It's not, they don't. It's the only profession that will train you properly to work with existing buildings. And in the climatically challenged world, we have to work with everything that's already here. So that's why I think it's really important. So that's me.
Oh. So one thing, I hope Latvian students are the best students for you, of course.
Always, of course.
And another thing, yes, like you said, the reusing of the buildings, there's light is important too. So I like I said before, it will be not like talk between us, but more like questioning from my side. So, and that's why the first question, like catchy question is, what is the quality of light for you?
Wow, it's a question which I was already thought about a little bit, because I know you'd sent a few things to me, but it's a hard one. But I've sort of come to the conclusion in my brain anyway that I find it very hard to separate light from my other senses, because for me light is a very central element, let's say, in the interior. Now, I know that the lighting has a technical side, and there's fittings, and there's lumens, and there's lux values, etc., engineered values. I know nothing about any of that stuff. The other side of it is about atmosphere and about identity. So for me, light is a central thing. It's a textural thing, but it's also, for me, about sound as well, and the sound of a space. And together, light, sound, texture, even smell, for me, that makes the whole package of identity. So I never see light on its own. I always think it's part of a range of senses, I feel, because it's somehow, it's hard to separate out, I think, really. You know, the fact that I am in a lit environment now, but I can still smell and hear things, etc. So for me, it's part of the senses, and that's what makes it so important.
Mm-hmm. So that's why then the following question would be like, how do you think, or what your opinion about the importance of light in human life? So
it's fundamental. You can't, imagine life without light would be impossible. We need it. We have to have it for various reasons, for our rhythms and the way that we sleep and exist. And of course, if we start losing those things, then as a human being, we won't function. So it's absolutely fundamental to our lives. That's why it's so important, because, I don't know what you're like. I'm sure you're the same, and I'm sure many people in the audience are the same. If I go into a badly lit place, whether it's natural or artificial, I can't stay there very long because it upsets me. If I go to a doctor's surgery or a hospital and it's just relentless lighting, it makes me feel ill, even though the place is meant to be trying to make me feel better. So it's absolutely fundamental. But I would say it does come with some of these other senses.
Of course, yes. But I will start some questions from above, so like more global question. And so we talk now very, very bright about the impact of life on human health, about light pollution in the city. What do you think about it? So how important is the question?
It's really important because I come from a country, I live in the UK, I actually work in London but live in Brighton, which is just south of London, which is on the sea, on the coast. So there's a different light quality there. But when I'm in London, it's, the sort of idea of the 24-hour city is all there, so it's always lit. Mm-hmm. And I was looking online earlier, I think it's something like about, in England, so it's not Scotland or Wales or Ireland, there's something about, I think the figure quoted is, I think 75% of that land mass is overlit. So the notion of pollution is very critical, I would say. I'm from the city. I was born and raised in London. I've always lived in cities in various places. My partner is from the countryside. And the first time that I met her parents, and I went to the countryside, and it was pitch black. And I was like, and I was frightened because I just thought, this is weird. I've never ever been in an environment like this that's just dark. We're walking back along the street and it's pitch black and I can see the stars. But it made me realize that I'd lived in this city all this time, various cities with light, and I never saw what it was like to have complete darkness and to see the stars. So I think this notion of pollution is one thing which actually, you sort of lose touch a little bit with nature, with some of the bigger pictures about the universe and so on, because you can't see it anymore.
Of course, yes. And they are sometimes surprised, what is that there
exactly,
on the sky?
What is that? I was like that. I was like, what is that up there? Oh, it's the star.
So you mentioned it before already, but I will ask you a little bit different. So can meaningful lighting design contribute to creating more livable or sustainable cities? So
yeah, very much so. I think we have to, it's obvious the impact on our mental health with regards to light environments. It's obvious, there's a direct evidence, there's lots of links between how light can affect your well-being. I mean, you guys, I'm assuming in Latvia you probably have very, very long, dark winters, probably not as far north as, maybe Norway and so on, which has very, very long, dark winters. But I'm sure we all appreciate in the UK it gets darker. In the middle of winter it would be dark around 4 p.m, southern UK anyway, light again at 7 or something. Those long, dark winters, they affect our minds, and it is difficult, I think. So as humans, as animals that we are, we need light and we're drawn to it. So it's incredibly important. And I think for us as designers, how we somehow make our environments to help us overcome that and work with that, I still think it's a really undervalued part of our set of skills as designers, I think.
So the following question could be that about this same pollution problem. So you said about this 75% that is overlighted. So and mentioned before that the architecture mostly says that they are solving every problem of urban living and so. But can actually architecture and design solve this pollution problem?
Yeah, I think it can. I think it's such a big issue because we've got to think about the sustainability of our power sources. We've got to think about changing habits. I mean, we let's face it, who hasn't looked at their phone too long in a day and maybe looked at their laptop or their phone before they've gone to bed? And so just the light of that gadget is something that disrupts our sleeping patterns and so on and so forth. So we've got to think not just on that level of objects, but also our environments, because they will have the same impact. I think, everybody says, oh, don't read your phone before you go to bed. And it's true, I don't know if I ever have to. I'm thinking about this text or this bloody message somebody sent me and I've got to answer it, and it really bothers you. So I think our environments do the same thing. If they're not lit properly and if they're not kind of somehow conducive to allowing us to rest and relax or to, go quiet or to read, then they're not working and they must be affecting our mental health. So I don't have evidence to back it up, but I think it's just a sort of common sense, really.
Mostly we are speaking about light pollution when we are speaking about urban thing, so living in about cities and so, but not every time we are speaking about interior, about rooms, about places where we are working, these offices and so. You are person who are mostly working with interiors, of course, with this reuse of buildings too. But anyway, your observation, how important sometimes is problem of pollution in interior? How could be this solved too?
I would always say, to use your term pollution, and you're right, it's not just cities, urban scale, buildings, streets and so on. It also is the interior. I think there's a light pollution in the interior. And these are the environments that are lit really badly and they don't react to us in the way that we want them or we cannot manipulate. I'm staying in a hotel, which is an interesting one. I won't mention it because probably might be somebody here from that hotel, but it's I stay in a lot of hotels and I always find the lighting of a hotel polluting because first of all you spend 20 minutes trying to turn all the lights on and if I do that, oh my god, it's gone off over there and so on and so forth. Somehow interiors have got to be responsive in the way that they don't pollute our lives through giving us good lighting and making us feel healthy as well. So the idea that we can turn light, move it, somehow moderate it for the activity that we want to do or not want to do and so on. It's really important. It's the same with natural light as well. If we can't have interiors that will respond to how we deal with natural light when we need it, they're also polluting, I would argue. So I like your phrase polluting because it's essentially a word for describing something which isn't really working for us. It's making us ill.
Yes, somehow, yeah, not somehow, but really it's making us ill because next question will be about your impression because sometimes now we are speaking in Riga and Latvia sometimes about this problems that we have overlighted cities. We have too much digital advertising that is disturbing us not only on the streets but on our apartments too sometimes. So and then it's next question about you're not. Today you're not first time in Riga now, so and last time you had a little bit more days to be here. So how it is your impression about Latvia?
Oh, crikey! Wow, this is my second time here. It's a beautiful city. Obviously, the old city particularly is very beautiful, as we know. In terms of lighting, in the evenings, I notice very much actually. I mean, it's not like I'm in downtown Tokyo, let's say, but I think there's something really intriguing, and I've not noticed it here, but you have a beautiful historic city. Somehow the lighting needs to somehow respond to that, and it doesn't, I don't feel. And now, I don't know the reasons for that, but I think there's a lot to be done, and it's not just Riga. I think there's a lot to be said for the way that you light beautiful historic cities and the way that you talk about, where the modern contemporary world of lighting and electronics integrates or doesn't with it. I've been to Japan quite a lot. It's my favorite place in the world, and I'm quite happy sitting in the middle of Tokyo just watching all of the Blade Runner-esque kind of lighting things going on around me. But that's a very different environment to downtown Riga. So I think there's a great conversation to be had about how you light the historic city and what you're picking out, how you accentuate the architecture, the atmosphere of the place, and so on. And then where does modern digital world come into it? I think I don't know the answer, but I think here it's not quite there yet.
No, it's good. It's hoping answer that we are not the worst now in the world. Yeah. That is one thing. But so question at like I said, last question and least question already too is you are traveling around the world, working and teaching everyone interior and. Your experience in light is not only from UK but from around the world. So you're comparing which place you are saying is the best with solving all light problems. How do you think?
Wow, gosh, I don't know, to be honest. I don't think I've found anywhere that solves it all, and it depends really. I mean, I mentioned Japan earlier. It's one of my favorite places, and it's primarily not just because of lighting, but I think this whole kind of central quality of everything, from the smell of the place, the sound of it, the lighting, food, everything, that whole textural quality leads to this unique atmosphere which I enjoy. I live in Brighton, which is a historic town on the south coast of the UK. And there, lighting is very interesting because it's south-facing, so you get lots of sunshine throughout the day, beautiful. But it's also, for me, a city that, because I'm working in London a lot, the sound of London and the pollution of London, not just light pollution, but actually the air quality is very poor. So when I get to Brighton, the first thing that hits me is not just the light of it, which I enjoy, but also the sound and also the air quality as well. So I always feel that I enjoy, to try and answer your question, there's many places that I enjoy, but it's always a bundle of things, I think, that I really enjoy. Lighting, but also sound, smell, and the quality of air. Lighting and air, I think, are these two things that go hand in hand. So there's many places where I enjoy that. Just trying to think of some other places. I think, my hometown of Brighton is great, but Japan for some of the exciting light stuff that I can get to there. In terms of I'm just trying to think of a really historic city that lights itself beautifully. I can't think of one. I'll come back to you. Next year. Yeah,
next year. Of course, next year. You're promising. Well, next year we are making a light conference again, so next year again. But last question. This is not. I see that in the world now is about this light pollution, everything about lighting, about urban living and light is now like actual question. So, and how do you see how it will be work out? So it will solve this problem, or it will be only this time for now is the time for this question, and after that it will be slowed down and everything will stay at the same place.
No, the 21st century is facing a number of challenges. I think we can safely all agree on that, and I think one of them is not just social justice but also light, but more so the climate. And light has a big part to play in that because it's an energy source and it's going to rely on certain forms of energy and so on and so forth. I think I think in the next 5 years are going to be so challenging with regards to our energy supplies and resources, and lighting will be wrapped up in that the big conversation will be, at what point do we turn everything off in our city to save energy? I don't think we're very far away from that at all. We'll all be walking around with candles in the street again.
Okay, thank you, Graham. So,